I've heard you talk about too. I mean, your general style of hunting, like, and you mentioned it before, like you're telling people, lighten up weight wise, and you move a lot, and but you get close even when you had compound. Like your game was
Oh
to get
yeah.
super close, anyways. So when you pick up the trad bow, did much other than the actual just shooting of the weapon itself change about the way that you hunted with it, or was that
It
because you're already close anyways? Did that change much at all?
No, actually, that's a good question, and it's something people get. They're very interested in this because it's the opposite of what you would think.
Okay.
So yes, to answer your question, like that was, for years I would have people, or particularly trad shooters. I'd see them at shows or events, and they'd be like, "Dude, what are you waiting for to pick up a trad bow?" Because, man, I think, dude, for the past 10 years, I've always tried to preach that of get close to the animal. Like
Yeah.
that's what it's always been about for me. Like I don't get me like I think it's remarkable these guys who can shoot far distances. It's a
Yeah.
skill in itself, but I've always been obsessed with the hunt and like that's the game. It's like, okay, how close can I get this thing? And because of that, I never had to spend too much shooting. Like I just if I'm accurate at 20, like I know it's going down, and that was all I ever did. But so for my whole life, I just hunt and get deer close and execute it in that fashion. So it was like, okay, this should be a super easy transition. Just learn how to shoot a bow. Like you don't have to change anything about your setup. Um, and to a point, that is true. So somebody who kills all their deer at 40 to 50 yards and who has trouble closing that last little bit of distance, like
Yeah.
you are going to struggle big time with a weapon like this. Like you have to be able to in a close quarter hunting. And this environments too make a difference in this too. Like we
Sure.
talked about before we even hopped on this. Like if you're in Montana and like your effective range is your desired effective range is probably gonna have to be a little farther. I do a lot of close quarter like in timber type hunting.
Yeah.
Was never a big field edge hunter, like really reaching out and shooting far distances or open areas. Um, so if you can't get that close, or if you find yourself like that's tough for you, and that comes, I think, years and years. Like you can fine tune that, and then by choice. Some people like to be a little further out because it's you get away with more when you're further away from them. It's not
Sure.
as But anyway, so yes and no. I've actually found with the trad bow that I can't set up as close as I was setting up with the compound.
Oh, really?
So yeah, because of the limb, because of the
Oh, the
profile of the
length of the bow
bow,
itself.
the
Yeah.
length of the bow, it totally does not let me shoot straight down in a seated position.
Sure.
Like unless the deer is completely in front of me, not on the side. So you got the tree to think about, you got the cables of the stand, you got the actual stand itself. So a couple of the situations I found myself in the first year was like a 3 or 4 yard shot, which normally I love because it's very up close and personal in like kind of thick, dense timber. And, I'm set up to shoot one trail. And I found out the hard way that um, your limbs, man, just
Yeah.
shooting that close. So that was a big thing. So I had to kind of dial it. I had to push it back a little bit. That optimal range now is like 10 to 12 yards actually is like, I think the
Sure.
perfect, because you're not touching anything